Your love is king. You give me the sweetest taboo. No need to ask, he's a smooth operator. When you're cold.
You've sold 55 million records. Does that ever click in your brain? How many records, how many people are out there riding around with all your records? How's that relationship? What's that like?
I really fell in love with him when he produced a plaster out of his wallet for my daughter.
Did you know the queen of smooth jazz once found herself in a Jamaican jail cell? You wouldn't expect it from someone as mysterious and cool as Sade, right? Well, beneath the calm, silky voice and timeless elegance, there's a whirlwind of drama, controversy, and a life full of unexpected twists. Get ready to dive deep into the life of the singer who turned smooth operator into a lifestyle, but not without a few bumps along the way.
My true Nigerian name, or the true Nigerian pronunciation, or as close as I can get to it, is Fola Sade, which means crowning glory. And it was abbreviated. I could have been actually called Fola, which is like a prefix, which is quite a common prefix, in fact. Or I could have been called Sade, and I was called Sade. Sade, really. But in England, everybody goes Sade. In America, people tend to go Sade.
Helen Folashade Adu, better known as the one and only Sade, was born on January 16, 1959, in Ibadan, Nigeria. That's right, people, she got African roots. Her father, Adabisi Adu, was a Nigerian economics professor, while her mother, Anne Hayes, was a British nurse. The couple's marriage was rocky, and before Sade turned 4, her parents split up. After the divorce, little Helen moved to England with her mother and her older brother, Banji.
I am really a country girl who, when I was 17, I went to the big city in London and I spent half of my life there in London.
It wasn't the easiest of childhoods, especially being one of the few black families in the small Essex town of Clacton-on-Sea. Sade was a quiet child, reserved and super creative. But nobody knew back then that this shy girl would grow up to become one of the most mysterious and iconic singers in the world. By the time she hit her teenage years, she had a natural talent for fashion and music, attending St. Martin's School of Art in London to study fashion design. Can you imagine? Fashion, not music, was her first love. But life had other plans for her, honey.
If I wasn't singing, I'm really not too sure what I'd be doing, because now I am singing. I can't imagine a life without it, because it is very much, everything that I do completely dominates my life. I think when you're a singer, there isn't an awful lot else in your life. It sounds miserable and dismal and depressing, but it's not. At times it can be, of course. It's not all wine and roses, but I can't really imagine doing anything else. I'm sure I would be trying, I would be doing something, I would be trying to do something, but I can't specifically say there's any one thing I really dream about doing.
It was in the early 80s when Sade's destiny took a sharp turn toward music. She started off singing backup for a Latin funk band called Pride.
A friend of mine had a group that had 2 backing vocalists. One of the singers left and they had a concert coming up, and he asked me if I could sing, so I said, I'll attempt to. And so I auditioned for the band. They initially turned me down and then came crawling back to me when they couldn't find anybody better.
While performing with the group, the crowd couldn't get enough of her, and it didn't take long before people started asking, who's that girl? That sultry voice, that mysterious aura.
When I joined the first band I've ever sung with, Pride, I didn't have any experience or any sort of training.
Sade was a star, and the world was about to find out. Sade and a few members of Pride decided to break off and form their own band, aptly named Sade. And let me tell you, when they dropped their debut album, Diamond Life, in 1984, it was like nothing else on the radio at the time. It was smooth, jazzy, soulful, and totally cool. The single, Smooth Operator, iconic. Everyone from London to New York was grooving to it. The album was a global smash, selling more than 6 million copies and winning Sade her first Brit Award.
It's strange, but in a way, every artist needs a song that helps them break through, and that was our song. I don't think it's typical of our work, but maybe without that huge sort of success, and that was very immediate, that song, we wouldn't be in the position where we are now, just making the records we want to make.
And I'm watching your face. It doesn't seem like you love that song so much. It's like you had it with Smooth Operator already,
Smooth
right?
Operator, I've got it coming out of here.
By the time her second album, Promise, dropped in 1985, Sade was a global sensation. Tracks like The Sweetest Taboo,
You're giving me the sweetest taboo,
and Never As Good As the First Time
it's never as good as the first time.
had everyone hooked. But despite all this success, the singer remained a mystery. She didn't do a lot of interviews, and she wasn't one to attend all the fancy parties. Nope, Sade stayed low-key and focused on her art. Over the years, Sade's career only grew. Albums like Stronger Than Pride, released in 1988,
I still really, really love you.
Love Deluxe from 1992,
I'll be there, hold you tight.
and Lovers Rock in 2000
This is no ordinary love.
solidified her status as a musical icon. Her ability to blend soul, jazz, R&B, and pop into something uniquely her was pure magic. Every time she released a new album, it was an event. Her fans would wait patiently, sometimes for a decade, because they knew she'd deliver quality.
Okay, so what made you say, now's the time, let's go out on the road?
I just felt ready, and I think that the album deserved it, and it's like a sort of journey, historical journey.
With 6 albums under her belt, 4 Grammys,
And the best new artist is
Sade, darling.
and a catalog that has sold over 75 million records worldwide,
You sold 55 million records. Does that ever click in your brain? How many records, how many people are out there riding around?
Yeah. I mean, I never really think about that because I couldn't really grasp it.
Sade became more than just a singer. She was a vibe, a mood. But with all that fame came some controversy too. Let's just say not everything in Sade's life was as smooth as her voice. Now, here's the thing. Sade has always been super private, especially when it comes to her family. But even the most secretive celebs can't escape a little family drama. She had a brief marriage to Spanish filmmaker Carlos Pliego in 1989. But the couple split just a few years later. The divorce was low-key, but insiders whispered that the relationship had its share of tension. Later, Sade found love again with Jamaican music producer Bob Morgan. And in 1996, they welcomed a child, Illa Morgan. But hold up, things weren't all perfect in paradise. There were rumors of disagreements between the couple, especially as Sade became more reclusive and retreated from the limelight. They eventually broke up, and Sade moved to rural Gloucestershire in England, where she lived a quiet life away from the hustle and bustle of fame. One of the biggest challenges in Sade's family life came when her child Illa came out as transgender. In 2016, Illa transitioned and began living as Isaac Theo Adu, and Sade has been nothing but supportive. Though she rarely talks about her personal life, Isaac publicly thanked his mother on Instagram for being his rock during his transition. It's clear that behind the scenes, Sade's biggest role has been that of a devoted and loving mother. Now, you'd think with her cool demeanor, Sade would stay out of trouble, right? Wrong, honey. In the late 90s, there was a little scandal that rocked her otherwise pristine reputation. In 1997, while living in Jamaica with Bob Morgan, Sade got into some serious legal trouble. She was arrested for failing to stop for police after being pulled over for speeding. Rumor had it that Sade got a little sassy with the local cops, which didn't go over well. After spending a night in jail, she was released on bail, but the press had a field day with it. Can you imagine the headlines? Smooth operator in hot water. While she stayed tight-lipped about the incident, insiders said she wasn't pleased with how the Jamaican authorities handled the situation, And it wasn't long after that she moved back to England. Drama! And let's not forget the rumors of behind-the-scenes tension during her Lovers Rock tour in 2001. Allegedly, there were disagreements between Sade and her management over the direction of the tour, with whispers of arguments over scheduling and creative differences. But in true Sade fashion, she handled it with grace and professionalism, and the tour was still a huge success. One of the biggest controversies surrounding Sade is the fact that she'll disappear from the public eye for years at a time.
It's a long time.
This is a long
yeah, but I'm
time.
living in my own little time warp, you know. I have my own little time scale. I can't adjust.
Like, girl, where do you go? She's notorious for taking long breaks between albums, much to the frustration of her fans and even some record executives. I mean, we're talking about a decade or more between releases.
Yeah, well, for me, it's essential that I live my life and I keep in touch with my roots and my people, my friends, and I can't just sort of split myself in that way. I have to do one thing or the other thing, so sometimes it takes 8 years.
But Sade has always marched to the beat of her own drum.
Not really, I've more or less always been as I am. I present myself as I am. It's not an image, it's not a front.
While the music industry churns out albums every year, Sade takes her time, and that's part of what makes her so special. She's not in it for the fame or the money. She's all about the art. And let's be real, every time she comes back, she slays. Sade's life hasn't been without its share of heartbreak. Aside from her messy divorce and the stress of her legal issues in Jamaica, there have been whispers about her health over the years. In the early 2000s, there were reports that Sade had suffered from bouts of depression.
We all have our emotional problems in life, but I mean, mine aren't extreme and it's nothing I can't deal with. I live my life, I have a colourful life, and I don't really want people to know about my life.
Some close to her said that the pressures of fame and her reluctance to be in the spotlight had taken a toll on her mental health. Sade's private nature meant that she rarely addressed these rumors. But those close to her insisted that she's always been a strong woman who knows how to take care of herself.
I think I've always known that. I've always had the luck of knowing that money is not the key. Know that actually you can end up being rich but feeling very poor.
That's why she retreats to the countryside, away from the madness of Hollywood and fame. She knows her peace is more important than the glitz and glam. Despite her fame, she chooses the farm life over the glitz and glam of Hollywood. Now, isn't that the ultimate definition of cool? So, what's Sade up to these days? Well, after the release of her last album, Soldier of Love, in 2010, she's been mostly MIA. But girl, don't count her out just yet. In 2018, she released 2 new songs for film soundtracks, Flowers of the Universe for Ava DuVernay's A Wrinkle in Time,
Flower of the universe,
and The Big Unknown for Widows.
I feel I'm falling in the big unknown.
These tracks reminded everyone that Sade still got that magic touch. Sade has kept much of her personal life private. But it is known that she has been in a long-term relationship with Ian Watts, a former Royal Marine.
I really fell in love with him when he produced a plaster out of his wallet for my daughter.
The two have been together for several years, and Ian has been a significant presence in her life, offering stability and support. Even at 65 years old, she continues to reign as a queen of cool. With an estimated net worth of $70 million, Sade will always be our cool sister. I guess we'll just have to wait and see when she delivers her next hit song.